Butte. That's Butte, but...
Oh, that's Butte?
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to be a little closer. It's all icy over there. Yeah.
Sure.
Just be super careful walking around.
Yeah. Sure, huh? Well, let's start with Dugan first.
Okay.
Or Butte, I guess.
I got D. Hi everyone, good morning. This is Calvin, our farrier. He's going to trim up the horses. So yeah, I think he's going to walk us through, explain a few things that he does, and kind of show me the process, because I've never seen it.
Be a good boy. Yeah.
Pony.
Come on, dude.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone trim a horse, so I'm interested to see
Oh, really?
how it goes. Yeah.
Okay. So I rarely, even on my horses that I know, I rarely ever tie them solid when I'm shoeing or trimming.
Don't tie him solid?
I rarely do. Yep, it's, if one is tied solid and something happens and they pull back and I'm underneath there, they're gonna, horse is gonna pull back and then gets it all tight, and when they do release, they usually jump forward.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to get hurt sometimes, but so even if I know the horse, like he's never pulled back, but if he does get away, pulls back, gets away, where's he gonna go?
Exactly.
We'll
Everything's closed here.
Right? So if I'm in like a place where they're not gonna run off into the woods, then I just don't tie them solid. So we always start off with just cleaning the foot out, see what we got going on here.
And we normally don't pick their hooves. Is that good for stuff to be packed in there?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt them. I mean, it's good to look at them once in a while. If they got a rock or something, see how there's kind of a thing, there's a little
build-up,
little pocket in the frog. Sometimes they can get rocks stuck in there, which can cause some bruising and stuff. But, so I always take off the excess frog first. See, this is all dead frog. See how it's rolled over? So I usually cut all that out with my knife, make this just nice and get all the stuff out of there. You can get thrush and stuff in there if it's real wet.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about with the mud coming up.
Usually in Montana, we don't have a big problem with thrush. You get in the humid areas like down south, they fight thrush a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So see this frog here, it's shaping up pretty nice. It's a little narrower than I want. Nice wide frog is better, but it's pretty healthy. So right here, see this on his sole? That's what we call the callus. So that's kind of where their breakover point should be. So you can see how long his toe is.
Wow.
Right? So he needs to be trimmed. So these right here are the bars. And these bars should be nice and straight. And usually they get overgrown, so you cut them out. Kind of get them nice and make sure it's just kind of a nice deal. I'll trim them up with my knife a little bit. Now when we're trimming, you don't get too wild with your knife in the sole. Like right here, if I was going to shoe this horse, I would pare some of this out. But since he's not going to have a shoe, we're going to leave that for the most part. Or otherwise, if you took all that out, he'd be sore. So I always start with the heels first and I cut them down to the widest part of the frog. See how the frog V's out? The further down you go, the more the heel will come back. So see where the tip of the heel is clear, move forward. And after I cut this one off, see how far it came back?
Oh, yeah.
So that's how you gauge on just a regular horse, how far down to cut with the heel. And then you kind of go around the whole foot. And this guy, we're not going to take a lot of toe off the bottom. We're just going to bring the toe back a bunch. So we'll cut this off. He grows a lot of heel, this guy, which is a good thing. Okay. Now we're going to take our rasp, get everything nice and level.
And that's just like a big emery board.
Yeah, it's just a big file, you know. It will cut you if you use it wrong. If you whack your hand with it like this, it'll cut you pretty deep. So you kind of got to be careful of that. Okay, so now we got him. We got the heels pretty level. The rest of the foot's pretty level with him. We still got our callus. We didn't even touch it. Then we're going to come around and do what they call a Mustang roll. So this excess sidewall, we're going to cut it at a 45-degree angle. This will take pressure off of his hoof wall so that it helps prevent cracks and stuff like that. Kind of take the flare off. Okay, so we're done there. Now we'll go to bring the foot forward and just rasp off all the excess flare. So we'll put it here. Now if you take your rasp or a straight edge and you put it like that, see how there's a little gap right there? We want this foot to be nice and straight, so that means that this toe has to come off a little bit. So I'll pick a line on the foot, right here probably, and I'm going to rasp to that line. And then I always take my smooth edge and go around the edge of it so it's not sharp. This helps prevent cracking and chipping. And then I'll finish this foot off with my smoother side of my rasp. So it just makes it look better.
There's a coarse and a fine side.
Yeah, so it's the coarse side. And if you don't use the fine side, I mean, it does kind of the same thing, but you'll have just leave a bunch of marks in the hoof. The toe nice and straight. Now, if you get to rasp and see how it's changing color, right here, how it's going from black to white, that means you're getting close, okay? You don't want to go too far. I usually go until it starts to kind of change color, and it's usually pretty close on just a regular horse. Now there's certain horses with different problems, like Founder or something. We go very much more extreme with something like that. But on a horse with a healthy foot, that's all he kind of needs. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. And then if you lift the foot back up and look.
Oh, yeah.
See his callus here? That's where he's going to be rocking back and forth. So this right here is kind of the white line, they call it. That's a guide. That's what they call lamina. And that's what holds.
What swells up in laminitis.
Yeah, but with lamina, pretty much is the same stuff holding your fingernails on. Okay, so when he gets laminitis is when that stuff gets distorted, and then it starts prying. It'd be like prying your fingernail off all the time, right? So in a case like that with laminitis, we would cut all the way back to the callus so there's no pressure on it. And so with founder and stuff like that, usually there's laminitis that comes with it. That's a big sign of founder. So that's why we get way more aggressive with something like that. So, and that's kind of the basics of it, what I look at when I'm trimming a foot. Hind feet are a little different shape. They're a little more pointy than a front foot, typically. So we will take that into account when we rasp our flare off. But the same principle kind of applies on the hind feet as the fronts. It's just a little different shape. Also, like, so Butte here wears about, I'd say he wears an aught size shoe. And usually on an aught size shoe, you can look at the frog here. And just a sec. Kind of get them roughly trimmed up here. So this right here, where the frog disappears, the point of the frog disappears into the sole, is what we call the apex of the frog. That's where the frog goes into the sole. So typically, kind of a rule of thumb really, on an aught size foot, if you put my thumb in front of the apex of the frog, to right there is where his, to right in front of my thumb is his breakover point. Now a size 1 foot will be a little bit more, size 2 will be a little bit more accordingly, but an aught for my thumb is about right there. See where his callus is? So if I was going to shoe him, I'd put that shoe, the back of the shoe, right on the front of my thumb there. Yep. And that just helps, that's a little bit of a guide to get them balanced. One of the worst things I see happen with horses and stuff is people leave this toe out there too far. They leave the toe out there too far, which puts more pressure on the heels, which can get their gait off because, I mean, it's where their breakover is. It'd be like wearing too big of a shoe, right?
Foot's just flopping around in there.
Yeah, so this guy is pretty simple. He really is. I mean, everything's kind of mapped out the way it should be. So it's pretty easy to do.
I'm sure thanks to your years of doing them well.
And that does help, you know, maintenance for sure.
Yeah.
But you'll get horses sometimes that just got way too long of a toe, and then you kind of got to get aggressive. And now one that has a crazy long toe, we're not going to bring it all the way back at one time.
Yeah, you got to do it gradually.
Too much. So, you know, it might take 3 or 4 shoe-ins to get them back to balance, you know. So everything so far in his feet are looking pretty good. I'm nothing to be alarmed about. But you'll see right here on these corners of his hind foot is narrower than the front. See, his fronts are out here, they're more round. Of hind foot is got a little bit more of a point to it.
I see it now.
Typically, there's exceptions to every rule on horses. Every foot's different, so, and every horse is different.
Yeah, thankfully we haven't had any issues with their hooves.
Yeah.
At least while I've been here.
Right. And every foot's different, and I mean, I can pick apart any foot and say, well, I wish it was a little bit more like this or whatever. But that's one of my thoughts. You know, they have these guidelines that we all go by, but if you shoe every horse the same, you're going to run into some that it just doesn't work. So you got to kind of see what the horse is telling you, what the foot's telling you. And that's one of the benefits of going barefoot in the wintertime. Because you'll pull the shoe off, let these feet wear the way that they are naturally kind of wearing, and that'll kind of tell you where that horse wants to be most of the time. Now, Butte here, he has a pretty straight foot, but you will get horses that break over more to the left or the right. We call it tone in or tone out. So if he toed in real bad, right, especially on his front feet, he would be breaking more to the inside all the time.
So it'd be more like he had like duck feet kind of.
Yeah, like pigeon toes.
Pigeon toes.
And they can also toe out. I would rather on the hind foot see one toe out than toe, actually both front and hinds, I'd rather see them toe out a little more than toe in.
Yeah.
But, you know, some of them are just built different, just like people's gaits, you know. So. But it just takes, you can go to a farrier school and you get the basics, but it takes a lot of on-the-job training. I mean, you got to see thousands of feet.
See every kind of foot that you can.
Yeah, right. And even since I've been doing this for a long time, but every once in a while, I will find something or come into something like, whoa, what is going on here? You know, and throw you for a loop, and you kind of got to think it through.
Yeah.
And see what the horse is telling you. And sometimes, if you can't get it figured out, x-rays are very helpful because we can only see so much. You get an x-ray and you can see what the coffin bone inside of there is doing. And sometimes you're like, oh, okay, this horse needs to be wedged up, and we can put wedges in his shoes to lift his heel up, or maybe a different kind of shoe to get his breakover pulled back, or, you know, sometimes they're got really thin soles, and that coffin bone is right there at the ground.
Oh, ouch.
Okay, we need to put some pads on this horse, right? Try to get some sole growth back in him. But they're just like people. Everybody has, there's a lot of people that have big foot problems, right?
Yeah.
And there's some horses that have big feet problems. It's just tougher with a horse because they got to have their feet or they can't do what they need to do.
And they can't tell you what's wrong.
Yep. And so I get people ask me all the time, you know, in the wild, what about a horse with a bad foot? Why do wild horses have such good feet? Because they do, for the most part. They all have great feet, right? And my thought is, it's survival of the fittest. If a horse has really bad feet and he can't travel, he's going to die.
He's cougar food.
Yep, he's going to get ate, or he's just going to not be able to keep up. He's not going to be able to travel for food and water, so he's going to die. So that weeds out the bad feet.
Yeah. Does walking in a more natural environment help trim their feet down?
But a horse's natural environment is the desert. So, you know, here in Montana, we got lush green grass. This really isn't their environment, so therefore we have to shoe and trim them.
Imitate that?
Yeah, we got to try to help them the best we can, because they just don't, they're out there in their pasture, in the nice grass. They don't have to travel for food. And in the desert, them horses are traveling like 40 miles a day, you know, in the rocks and stuff.
Yeah, the rocks, the sand, all over it.
Plus, they're not being ridden. So that's another variable.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you put a saddle and you put another 200, 250 pounds on their back. They're going to need a little bit more help than if they're just running around barefoot in the desert, you know.
So if, say, someone was just riding their one horse just for fun and not for, like, competitions or anything, would you recommend shoeing them as well? Because I know a lot of people now do barefoot.
Yeah, so that's all dependent on what you're doing and what the horse is. Okay, so, yeah, I do some barefoot trims for people that have been barefoot for a long time, never had a problem. They need to have hard, nice feet.
Yeah.
A flat-footed horse, you know, he's going to need some help. Part of it is our fault because we have bred we have bred the feet out of a lot of these horses. Now, walkers not so much, but in the performance world, quarter horses especially, you know, somebody has a champion horse with terrible feet, stud horse, and he's done, he's crippled. Well, what are you going to do? Well, let's breed him. Let's get a colt out of him.
Keep passing it on.
Then you get a mare, a champion mare, same problem. You breed them together, their foal has terrible feet. And that's just happened over time, more and more. It still does. It drives me nuts, but people do it.
People just aren't, they're not looking at the overall wellness.
Yeah, right? They're just like, man, that horse was so nice. I really want a colt out of him. Well, I get that, but look at that stud horse's feet. You know, his foal is going to have some of those characteristics. And then sometimes you can get away with it. You just have to be diligent about foot care. So, and that goes in conformation too. Not just feet.
Yeah, I've noticed a few things about Augie's conformation, so could probably talk about him when we get to him.
Okay.
He's got his knee knocked in the front. His knees kind of bow in.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. And then, yeah.
So, and we can help that a little bit, but I'll tell you, if you, an older horse or a horse that's pretty much fully grown, that's got crooked legs, if you try to straighten them up too much, they will be sore.
Yeah.
So
those tendons trying to correct themselves.
Yeah, right. Things just aren't lining up the way they were grown. So
yeah, and from what I understand, he's been like that since he was born, practically, kind of folded up in the womb.
Yeah, sure, and that can happen.
Help him in the meantime.
Yeah. So we're gonna take that into account when we trim him. You know, we're not gonna try to make him perfect because it'll probably put too much stress on those joints. But an old vet told me one time, they call it Navicular Disease. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I have.
So Navicular Disease, there's a little bone. Actually, people have the same bone in their hands. It's just a little bone behind the coffin bone there. And if you stress that bone, it makes them really sore.
And that's kind of like what would be in our wrist.
Yeah. Right? Yep. And so we're seeing more of it all the time, it seems like, especially performance horses. But they're, you know, performance horses are expected to perform, so they're running hard. They're athletes, right?
Yeah, putting a lot of stress on all the joints in the foot.
Just like people, most professional athletes are going to have some joint issues, right? They're going to have bad knees or something. But, so I was talking to an old vet one time. I said, you know, Jack, I just been seeing more navicular all the time, and I'm just wondering, you know, what's your thoughts on it? And he said, all these performance horses go back to old lines of racehorses, for the most part. If you think about it, back in the 50s, right, when they really started breeding and looking at lines and stuff. And those the track, their thought was then that a smaller footed horse was quicker, which there probably is a little bit to it, right? But they also wanted these great big horses that could run. So they're breeding little feet into big horses.
I know, I've seen some thoroughbreds and their foot's like this big.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
right?
It's a 17-hand horse.
And that's from breeding over time. So you put a little foot on a big 15-some hand horse that's running hard, he's going to have some joint issues.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it shows up in their navicular joint.
Yeah, I was so surprised when I started working here, seeing how big all their hooves are.
So, yeah, so these are walking horses. So this is a different deal, right? You want their feet big. So actually, and I'm not a walking horse line expert, I guess, but they want big feet on them for their gaits. So they kept the feet in them. When they bred them, they wanted big feet. So that's one big difference between the performance world and the walking world. Because they're just they're bred for different disciplines, you know?
Yeah, especially if you're using one of these out on the trail. You want a nice, big, wide foot.
Right, you want them to walk out, right?
Yeah.
You take a quarter horse up there with these walking horses, and you're going to be in a trot or in a lope all day trying to keep up.
Yep.
And it's miserable. You know, it's just everybody's walking along there, and you walk with them for 2 minutes and then you're behind. So then you got to kick into a lope. So it's funny how the different gaits for different things. Now you can't take a walking horse and go run barrels and make it to the NFR, you know? So that's a different deal.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them when we go out to the field out here. They'll just do their running walk to get to their stack of hay.
Sure.
And when any of them have to trot or lope, it's just the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
It doesn't look right, does it?
Doesn't look right. They don't know what they're doing.
It looks like their feet are all over the place.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. So that's it for him. He looks good.
Wow, good boy.
And he'll be good for a few weeks.
Yeah, especially with us opening back up for the summer, we're definitely going to need some shoes on him next time.
Sure. Yep, we can do that. No problem. And we'll just schedule that after we get done today or tomorrow. Also, when you get done with the foot, you want to look at their hairline. When you stand on level ground, he's kind of standing on uneven ground. But this hairline should be parallel with the ground. Okay, so that means that he's level this way. See, this foot's pretty nice and level.
Yeah.
Well, they both are. You just will stand a little different on that. But if you're on like some concrete or something, you can really see it good. All right, bud. Come on, dude. Come on.
And then just so you guys can see for the camera, we do have the Rasp that he's been using. We have one in here and we have one in the tack room too. So if anyone knew what they were doing here, they could use it, but we just wait for him to come back. But it's kind of like I think it's like a piece of steel, just like very, very tough nail file.
Hey, dude. Come on. Well, the best thing is like if you're leading a horse across ice, is I let them take their time, leave them on a loose line, and let them pick their way. If you try to control what they're doing on ice, you know that they're more prone to slip.
We've got 2 feet to think about. They got all 4 feet to worry about.
And they know where they're at.
Yeah.
So I let them kind of pick their way.
And he's been in training the last couple of weeks, so anytime I grab him and bring him out from the pasture, he's always hesitant to walk past because he's like, I don't want to go to school.
Sure. All right, dude. Let me look at you here.
Yeah, somebody took a poop nap. So I've noticed on him that his front feet seem very upright.
Yeah,
so a lot of heel back there.
He grows a lot of heel. So we call that one that's really upright like that. We might call it a little bit of a club foot. He's not, I wouldn't say he's necessarily clubby, he just grows a lot of heel. But you will get foals that are born with club feet. It's a genetic thing. And when they're born, they can do surgery and they snip a tendon back there that relaxes that. But it's just kind of real tight back there, right? So he doesn't have a problem with that. But you do want to be careful. A horse that's been wearing with a ton of heel, right? You don't want to get too drastic and cut all their heel off, because think about how much pressure that's going to put back there. They're not used to it.
Yeah.
So, you know, you want to be somewhat conservative about it. We're definitely going to take these heels down. That also is why taking the heels down to the widest part of the frog is a good guide, because that will tell you a lot of how far down to go, right? So if you look at this foot compared to the way Butte's were, and Butte had quite a little bit of heel too, but he's got a ton of heel. Once you clean this frog out, you can see, I mean, the widest part of the frog's clear down here, right? And the point of his pressure point right now, without him being trimmed, is clear up here, clear in front of it's almost a third of the way up the frog, right? So when we cut these heels down, it's going to move these heels back to here, back here. So there'll be more support in the back part of his foot. So he doesn't have a lot of bar to cut out, just a little bit, so I'm not going to really worry about it too much. Just clean it up a tickle. And then we're going to start about right here. I want that heel to be back to about right there. So we'll see the difference between the two here in a second. And I'm not going to take much toe off. You can see that his toe is wore off. So I don't take a lot of toe. I just kind of...
You think that's because he walks so upright on his toes?
Yep, so he's wearing his toe off, right? Which isn't a bad thing. But now you can see the pressure point on this heel I haven't trimmed off is clear up here.
Wow.
And the pressure point of the one I just trimmed is clear back here.
Yeah, it's a good angle difference.
So, yeah, there's a big difference there. Now, I could go down further. It's not like I'm close to blood or anything. But for him, who's been walking so upright, I don't want to get too crazy. So we are just going to get him balanced up and call that good. Because that's, like I say, these rules are mostly guides. It doesn't apply to every foot. So you got to just use kind of experience to see where you want it.
Someone from the chat asked, is it better to have shoes on when there's ice or barefoot?
Barefoot, mostly. Yep. There are shoes we can put on that have spikes in them, or borium. I can weld on a borium that have carbide flakes in there, and that's called sharp shoeing. So say somebody was doctoring cows in a slick feedlot all winter, right? They need as much traction as they can get. So we'll put borium or corks, which are little spikes that we can drill in there for more traction. But if they're turned out in the field and it's icy, barefoot's way better.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. Because then if they start kicking at each other with the spikes on their feet, that's not good.
That's another thing. They whack somebody with spikes in their feet, that's going to cause some holes. And then if you just have them with a regular shoe on, a summertime shoe, it's like skis, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then for the snow, if they need them shod or whatever, there's some pads we can put in with the shoe that keeps the snow out. Because what'll happen, it's like building a snowman with a shoe on. They'll walk around in the snow and it'll make a big snowball. And I mean, it'll be that thick.
Ouch.
Yeah,
like the snow will just keep sticking to itself.
Yeah, just like a snowman. So, that's why we put the snow pads in there. With every step, it kicks that snow out. But when they're barefoot, it's not a big problem. Now this guy has hardly any flare compared to Butte.
Yeah, he's very straight.
Very straight, walled. So we don't have to get crazy with our rasp here. We just clean them up a little bit, clean up our edges, keep it from chipping and cracking. Because we already got pretty much straight line there. Easy, bud. So was he a different horse when he got back from the trainer?
I'm the trainer.
Oh, you're the trainer. Oh, you've been training him. Oh, okay. How's he been?
Kind of a butt sometimes, but for the most part, he's a good boy.
Yeah?
We've been training him to drive, actually. So we're gonna.
Okay.
James has been building a stone boat, and I've been teaching him to drive with the long reins. And then the other day, we put the poles on him that are over on the little cattle stand over there. Yeah, so we're just trying to get him trained to drive first, and then maybe later this year, next year, get him saddled and ridden.
Yeah, that's a good way to get a handle on one before you get on him.
Yeah.
You know, they know what the bit is and stuff.
Yeah, so we've been kind of like MacGyvering a packing saddle into a driving harness. So we've got like the breast collar is going to be what he's putting his weight into, but we put like bike tire inner tubes, turned them into like rubber bands around his side right here.
Okay.
And then just tied the lead rope to the rubber band so it pulls on his head and he knows to turn.
Sure.
To teach him to use his bit. I've never seen anyone do that, so I thought it was pretty
Well, that's
cool.
a good idea. Yeah. I've never driven horses much.
Neither have I until now.
Yeah, it's cool though. I mean, I grew up in Wisdom, and they used to feed with teams a lot when I was a little kid. Feed the cows, you know. So I ridden on a lot of sleighs, but I was too little to drive them. Dad let me hold the reins while we were at the gate or something.
Right.
You know?
Like, just hold him still.
Yeah, right. But when I got old enough to start working on the ranch, we were all mechanized, so all tractors and stuff. So I never did never did drive a lot of teams.
Yeah, we'll just be me and him as a team. But
Yeah.
we're gonna run out of snow here soon. But with the stone boat, we should be able to drive it over the grass still.
Sure, easy, bud.
Yeah, the biggest problem I have with him is getting him to stand still, which is like the easiest part, but he just doesn't want to.
Yeah.
But obviously, since you've got his feet and he knows it's business time, he's like, okay, I'll just stand here.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good. What, do you have little scratches on his back foot here?
So we actually had cellulitis back in November. His whole fetlock was swollen up like a softball.
Oh, wow.
And he was on antibiotics for like a month and a half for it. And then the vet came in and did an ultrasound and figured out that it could be synovitis.
Okay.
So that tendon sheath is filling up with synovial fluid, with scar tissue instead of the synovial fluid like it should be. So he did some like corticosteroid injections in it in January, and he's been fine since then.
Oh, good. Yeah, it looks good now. There's not any swelling, really.
So now we're just waiting for the hair to grow back, basically. He's just been kind of a naked ankle all winter.
Well, at least they got her taken care of, it sounds like. So when I pick up a hind foot on any horse, a lot of people, one thing about it is you want to be deliberate. I mean, you don't want to be fast, but you want to be deliberate in what you're doing so that they can feel you. The worst thing to do picking up a horse's foot is to come up here and pat him real nice. You want to be deliberate. And if he walks away, I always start at the hip. If he walks away, that's fine. I'm in a safe spot. But he knows where I'm at. That's a big thing. Then when you pick up a hind foot, you always keep your elbow on your side, right? So when I pick up this foot, see where my elbow is? If he kicks me, he's gonna push me out of the way more than make contact.
Yeah.
If I came down his foot like this, and he kicks me, I'm right in the line of fire. So that's one thing. When people are picking up feet and they've never really done it before, that's one of my big things. Keep that elbow to you. Because you will get kicked at if you do this job very often, very much. You know?
Are most horses good at standing still, or a lot of them kind of shift and fidget?
You know, there's a little everything out there for sure.
Because I remember that first time you came, I think when I started working here in Mystery, was just being a puss head.
Yep, he can be a jerk, that Mystery, once in a while. A lot of it is the horse. When I start colts, of course I'm a farrier, so I'm kind of obsessed with their feet.
Yeah.
One of the first things I do is start working with their feet in the round pen. And usually with a rope. I'll start with the rope, They can kick that rope all they want, like a big, thick cotton rope that's not going to burn them. And you use that rope just like you would your hand. Ask them to give it to you. And they'll throw a fit with that rope, and you just be patient. Hit pressure on it. As soon as they give you your foot, you don't give it back just like you would with your hand. And then I actually, especially at the front feet, will get them to lead with their foot. Like halter break them with their feet, almost. If you do those steps with a young horse, usually it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
But what happens is a lot of times people skip that step. They just want to ride them. And yeah, you can get some bad ones for sure that are, if they get too bad, really the only way to do it, especially a full-grown horse, if they're just so bad that it's dangerous, the only way to do it is to sedate them.
Yeah.
You know, you can tie their feet up and make them do it.
Or like put them in like a stall vice kind of thing.
Like a stocks, yeah, and tie their feet up, right? But a lot of times, people that I'm working for do not have those, they don't have a set of stocks, you know? So I do have some horses that I do that need to be sedated just to get it done. It depends on the horse. It depends on their personality. There's some horses out there that just got kind of a ornery personality.
I'm sure Canner would be one of those.
Right. Yeah, he probably would. And he's old enough now that there's not a lot of talking him through it.
No. And his owner, Mackenzie, will come out and do his own trimming and stuff if he needs to. But
so then you got that with horses. Now, mules are a completely different story. A mule, I don't care for doing mules a lot. I do some good ones. Now, a mule is usually really, really good. They'll stand perfectly still, or they're really, really bad.
Not a lot in between.
And the really, really bad ones, one thing about a mule is when he decides to kick you, they usually don't miss. And so, and you get into a fight with a mule, if they get mad enough, there's no talking them through it. They're mad, and they're just not going to do it. And they're so tough and stubborn that it's pretty hard to manhandle them.
They're smarter than horses to a fault.
They are in a way, yes, for sure. They just don't have the give up like a horse does. A horse will give up most of the time if you keep on it, right? A mule won't. And I've also had mules that they get mad at you, and they'll wait till you get right in the wrong spot, and then they'll kick you. They'll be standing perfectly still, and you step in the wrong spot, and they'll whack you. They hold grudges, for sure. So I don't do a lot of mules, just because I was raised around horses. I know horses way better than I know mules.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of farriers to go around to get the mules too.
Yeah, a lot of guys don't like doing them. But there are some guys that will. What's up, buddy?
Good boy.
He's being a good boy today, though. Augie is.
That's surprising.
Yeah. I shouldn't have said that until we get done.
Well, he's had his breakfast. He's ready for a nap. Yeah, yesterday I was leading him around in the arena here and was trying to get him to walk back into the round pen while I was driving him, and he was just not having it. So
nope, not going in there.
Nope, it's just the power of wills. He's like, we've already walked out. I thought we were done. So he was like rearing up and just being a brat, and I'm like, all you have to do is go forward.
Yeah.
That's your only option.
Did you finally talk him into it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Finally coerced him into it. But yeah, he kept trying to back up towards the gate. I'm smacking his butt with the ropes. The only way you can do this is to go forward.
Yeah, that's your only way out. So, yeah, like you know, probably, horses are always looking for the easiest way out. So, once they figure out, well, I go in here and I'm done.
So you make the right thing easy and the wrong thing hard.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, dude.
All right, good boy.
All right.
I can take him. I'm going to let him imbue out to the field.
Okay.
Thanks. Show off your new pedicure.
Oh, I wonder if I ought to get my other stand.
Good boy. Oh, what a little size. That's so cute.
Yeah, the little guys.
I'm very interested to see the difference between the horses, the ponies, and the donkeys.
Yeah, the donkeys are going to have more of a mule-shaped foot, and then the ponies are just kind of a little horse foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually, I guess we probably better bring the donkeys together.
Okay.
Because they're buddies.
Yeah, their halters are all
Yep.
on their fences. All right. Oh, hold your donkeys. All right. Pick up.
You want to come out, Donk? Here, bud. Here, wait for your buddy.
I just always forget how little they are until I put the halters on.
They're not very big.
Nope. Oh, Miss Maud, let's go.
I don't have my corgi with me today. I'll probably have him with me tomorrow, my dog.
Okay.
Because he kind of looks like a donkey. He's got big old ears, just like a donkey.
Oh. Yeah, Chatter's been asking about your dogs.
Oh, yeah? I
You
lost
didn't bring him today.
I lost my old dog, my old
Aw.
white dog, Harley. But we got a new little dog, Newt, and then my big furry dog, Gus. But they'll be with me tomorrow, probably.
Yay. Yeah, they're like running around that big field.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's just scoot over a little, buddy. Okay, so you see the donkey foot is way more straight-walled. Instead of a round foot, it's more of a U, like an elongated U. And that's typical of a mule and a donkey. It's kind of the same principle, though, as a horse, for the most part. These guys are not very long. I don't know if we'll trim him for sure. But so, that's excess frog right there. Get down to see what we're doing. We got a little heel we can take off. So you can see his callus right here. So that callus is nice. This is a nice gradual slope from the tip of the frog up to his callus. That tells me right there that he doesn't need much taken off, or if any. on this toe. Okay, also when you're paring out with a knife, you see how nice and shiny it is up here in the sole? That's live sole. And this stuff that's a little flaky, a little chalky looking is dead sole. So when we're paring these out, we just take out the dead sole if we can. That's kind of what we're after. And if you're just trimming them, you leave a little dead sole, just a little bit, that's better than taking too much. So all this guy really needs right here is a little taken off of his heel. And we're probably not going to touch his toe hardly at all.
Yeah, they walk around on this gravel a lot more than the horses do.
Yeah, so they're wearing off pretty good, right? And they're wearing off nice and straight. You know, there's not one side wore off more than the other. Okay. So that means that they're pretty balanced.
She's being so good.
And that's going to be it for that. I'll take a little toe off of him, off the front. You see this ridge line right there?
Yeah.
So that's almost a dead giveaway of when the season's changed.
Wow.
It's a change in feed, change in weather right there. See that? So that's from here to here is about a year of growth from the hairline down. So I'd say about 6 months, the feed and the weather has changed.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep. And so I can tell, a lot of times on a horse, I can tell if somebody changed their feed. And I can give you a pretty good idea when it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or weather, you know, too. Can be a big difference.
Yeah, because we definitely did start feeding them more, which is why they're both a little chunky, but...
Which is all right in the wintertime.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so... Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of like, almost like growth lines in a tree.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can tell when there was like fire years or flood years or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So we're starting to change color right there on his toe. So that tells me right there we're plenty short on this little foot.
Little foot.
And that's all you get there, buddy, for that one. Okay.
So how long have you been doing this work for?
So as a job, as a profession, I guess, for 12 years, I guess.
Wow.
Well, almost 13 years.
But you grew up on a ranch.
Yeah, so I used to shoe, I started shoeing my own, learning how to shoe when I was 12 years old. And I'm 36 now. So.
A lifetime of experience.
Yeah, we've done a lot of it. And my dad taught me the basics of how to shoe, and I started getting more into it, more, I guess, obsessed with it almost, about the science and what's going on internally of the foot. And so I started going to some clinics and learning more and more about it. And there are a lot of different theories about feet. So you can go to one clinic and pick up something and they do it a little different, but I guess my experience is I've tried to learn a little bit from everybody.
Yeah, and it could be for what they have specifically going on in that region,
Yeah.
or their kind of land that they have.
Exactly. And just different styles. And shoeing has evolved so much over the last 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
That the way they did it back in the 70s is not, science has just proven that we needed to change it a little bit, right? So.
Yeah, and it's got to be a necessity to have the anatomical understanding behind it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, you can learn on the ranch, but you really don't know what it looks like inside the foot. So I went to some clinics. I kind of got more involved in it. I started shoeing some outside horses in my college years, and then I decided I wanted to try to do it for a living. So I called a couple guys I took some clinics from. One guy was from over here, Tony Langang. Actually, he used to do these horses before he slowed down. And I traveled with Tony I traveled with him 2 to 3 times a week for about 1.5 years, 2 years. And learned a lot from him. And then I started getting busier and busier, and I had a couple vet offices call me and ask me to come down to the clinic and shoe some of their problem-footed horses, because I guess they liked it. And so I started working with some vets, and that helped out a lot, because I got to look at a bunch of x-rays, and I got to work with vets and try different things for different problems, and see what worked and what didn't, and I still work with the vets quite a bit. So, and Tony, he's around. I think he's in Arizona now. He goes down there in the winter and shoes down there.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, if I run into something that I don't really know or haven't seen before, I'll call him and be like, "Hey, you ever run into this?
Yeah.
What'd you do? Did you find something that worked? You know?" And yeah, so we talk.
It's good to have a good little network like that.
Right, and it's like that with a lot of guys too. I've had some other farriers that I haven't worked with. I know them. That, you know, my sister-in-law had a horse one time, a Wizard. It was a reining horse. And geez, I just couldn't quite get it right. It just had some hock issues. Some vets tried and stuff, so I called a couple other farriers that I knew had worked on some of the same horses with the same lines. And they said, "Yeah, you know, we ended up doing this," and that seemed to help. So you're always learning, and you can learn from each experience, you know. But I never did go to farrier school.
And you don't necessarily have to get like licensing or anything?
No, well, there is no actual licensing in this business, at least in Montana. It's all, so you can go to school and get your degree, I guess, but that doesn't mean that you have to have something like that to work in this field. So, and I have nothing against the farrier schools. That's just not the route I went.
Yeah.
I just learned on the job kind of deal. Kind of like an apprenticeship with a plumber. Is a lot like, or electrician, right?
It's like if you grew up doing it and you kind of know what you're doing, then
and I
get extra knowledge.
I had a pretty good start. I had the gist of it. I just need to refine it a little bit, you know? So. But I tell you, I spend a lot of time on YouTube looking at what other guys are doing, and I picked up some stuff from them, just, you know, on certain, mostly lameness issues, right?
Yeah.
So that's, the horse is pretty straightforward. Most of us are pretty good. If it's got
good feet, you know for the most part what you're doing.
Yeah,
but when there's some issues inside, then you gotta...
Or, you know, and sometimes what the book says doesn't always work. I had a horse one time that I was working on had ring bone, and we had the vets out and everything. And they x-rayed it, and yep, got ring bone. Okay, well, what you're supposed to do is wedge those horses up, bring their toes way back, right? Get some pressure off of that joint. So we were doing that, and this horse would get worse every time. And I was like, man. So we went barefoot for about 3 months one time, and that horse came back and he had low heels and long toes, and he was walking better than he had. And I thought, well, I guess this horse doesn't go by the book. So we started shoeing him that way and he was fine. So a lot of this job is trial and error. It really is. Like, what worked for one lame horse with the same issue does not necessarily work for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're gonna have the smallest little anatomical differences.
Yeah.
In what angles they need and everything.
And how their bones have developed and how long it's been going on for and how their bones have formed and stuff like that. So, you know, you always try it. Okay, well, we'll start out with this, and a lot of times it works. And then sometimes you gotta go back to the drawing board and figure out something else. What's he really asking me to do with his foot to make him feel better? How's he? And there's just some instances where we can just get them pasture sound. You know, they're so lame. We can only do so much.
Just get them so they can stand and walk.
That they can walk around and eat, you know?
Yep.
But you'll never be able to ride them again, type deal. Come on, buddy. Nobody's riding you, are they?
No, they're just a couple freeloaders.
Yeah. Don't fall asleep, buddy. You're not too worried about much, is he?
No, they're usually pretty cool about stuff, but they also all just finished eating. Definitely nap time, sitting in the sun.
Okay, and that's it for him. Let's see how this goes.
You just want some butt scratches, huh, Mud? Do you remember trimming or shoeing a horse we had named Martine?
No? What color was he?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Don't know if I ever remember Martine, no? How long ago was that, do you know?
Probably a while ago.
Okay, I bet Tony was the one doing them then, because I don't remember Martine. Yeah. I've been doing these guys for, I want to say 3 or 4 years, I guess.
Okay, so since Augie was born, pretty much.
Yep, he was just a baby.
Okay.
He was born the first year I was here.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess Martine had ring bone, is what they were saying.
Okay.
And
did they get him kind of lined out, or did they have?
Oh yeah, that was back in 2012, so you wouldn't have been here.
Nope.
But,
Nope, that would have been Tony, I think.
yeah.
So ring bones just essentially is arthritis in the joint. That's pretty much a fancy word for arthritis is what it is. But there are some things we can do to help relieve it, but sometimes it just gets too bad you can't do much.
Yeah, I guess he was a rescue horse that Suzanne had gotten. I don't know if he had it before or developed it after. Apparently he was so smart he could let himself out of his stall.
Oh yeah? So like Houdini, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, apparently Tony was able to help him a lot with it.
With some corrective shoeing and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's actually, that kind of stuff is what makes this job a little more fun than if you can see a lame horse come in and then he walks off sound. It makes it
gotta be really gratifying.
Yeah, a little more gratifying, right? Or a horse, just terrible looking feet, and after 2 months they look great. Yeah, that makes it a little more fun.
So your dad was a rancher, not a farrier, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure he did plenty of his own horses too.
Yep, he never did like it though. He hated every minute of it.
I can just imagine how it is on your back.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, if you don't do it all the time, if you only do it once a month or once every 6 months, it's just hard on you. But if you do it every day, you get, not that you don't get sore, but you get kind of in shape for it.
I guess you have the right muscles now to hold yourself like that.
Yeah, they just kind of developed over the years, but you know, when you first start, I remember first starting, you get half a horse done in a day, and man, you hear about, you know, like these farriers are doing 9 or 10 a day. How in the heck do they do that, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just, you just got to get in shape for it. But my dad still has a ranch out there. My dad, my brother, he shoes too. He doesn't do it as a living, but he shoes outside horses. He probably does 3 or 4 a week, I guess, you know, but he mostly ranching.
And do you have enough business around here to make it a living?
Yep. I just travel. I live in Stevensville, so I just travel from Lolo to Darby is kind of my stretch.
Okay.
And I don't go any further than that anymore.
Yeah, and that's pretty central location to all of that.
Yeah, right. Then there's some guys, you know, there's mostly Missoula North, right? It's just kind of where you live and
how far you're wanting to go for it.
This job is so much word of mouth, so you might do some horses for somebody and the next day their neighbor calls you up, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, someone asked, do you know Brandon Carpenter?
I don't.
He's a rancher out in Shepherd.
Oh, nope. That's in
that's way out east.
Yeah.
He's the one who does the teletraining with me.
Oh, okay.
He and Suzanne have been friends for forever, and he raises and breeds Tennessee walking horses, that's how they met each other.
Sure.
But he's a really cool guy, but I guess he's a rancher too, so he just kind of does everything on his own.
Yeah, right. Yeah, ranchers, they usually figure out what they need done by themselves kind of deal. Pretty self-sufficient, I guess.
Yeah, they usually, like we have segments on Monday, because we do like all day Monday broadcasting, and he'll send us videos of, oh, we fixed this truck, or we did this thing, and we're getting our cattle today. And,
you gotta be somewhat a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
You know, not just dealing with cows, but you got a mechanic, you got to build fence, you got a lot of stuff. So, but my dad, he's not doing as much as he used to anymore. He's still ranching. My brother's pretty much running the day-to-day for a lot of it. But my dad's like, he's in Arizona right now roping for a month, so.
At a certain point in time, whether they want to or not, they got to slow down.
Yeah, right. And so, he's still around there, but he's not doing as much as he used to. I go out there when I can, help them out. They're going to be calving here in a month, so I'll be out there quite a bit then.
Yeah, our neighbors already have one little baby.
Do they?
Yeah, lots of heifers ready to pop.
Yep. So out in the big hole, it's so cold and snowy. We always calve a little later than most of the state. So a lot of guys calve from, starting in January, February, March. We don't usually have our due dates like April 15th.
Wow.
Just because it's so cold and miserable. And it's still cold and miserable in April out there a lot of times. But.
Is that farther north?
That's actually south. It's just a way higher elevation.
Oh, I see.
So here we're at like 3,000 feet.
Yeah.
And out there they're at like 6,500 feet.
Oh, wow.
So you just get more extreme weather. But in the summertime, it gets to, like 85. That's about as hot as it'll get, which is great. Except for the mosquitoes get pretty thick.
I saw a mosquito for the first time on Monday, I think.
Did you already? Oh, geez, that's a little early, huh? Now, did you grow up around here? Or?
No, I actually grew up in Southern California.
Oh, okay.
So I lived there most of my life, like south of Los Angeles, between there and San Diego. Went to college out there. I went to school for agriculture business.
Okay.
So I went to an ag school. We had like cows and horses, and I worked with Arabian horses.
Oh yeah.
Did like a foaling program. You take care of the pregnant mare, and then you watch them have their foal at the end of the semester.
With a bunch of Arabs, and you still like horses, huh?
Yeah. They're actually one of my favorites. I like the craziness.
Oh, they can be good, but they can be temperamental. Them things.
Yeah, they're one of my favorites to ride too. So
yeah.
I guess I don't know. Makes me a little crazy. But
I'm just teasing you.
No, when I finished school, or like my last semester, I had visited some friends that live up here. They moved in October 2018. So I came in January to visit them. And that was a year we got a little bit worse of a winter than we have the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I could live here. I could do this.
The snow didn't bother you too bad, huh?
Snow? Oh, no, I love the snow. I love cold. Every time it snows here, I'm just so fascinated by it because I had only seen it snow one time in my life.
Yeah.
And that was like in Lake Tahoe. So I love the snow, and I like the season changing and the different weather and everything. So I knew Montana was for me.
Yeah,
so
you get a lot of that in Montana.
Yeah.
You just got to wait 5 minutes, the weather will change.
Exactly. My wardrobe has changed drastically since I moved here. I don't think I have hardly anything left over from when I owned in California.
Yeah. Yeah, you not quite the same clothes,
No.
huh?
And I've learned how to layer.
Yeah, you can always take stuff off. It's my girls. I got 2 little girls. I got a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. And it'll be cold out, and I'm like, all right, get your coat out. And they'll come out in like a windbreaker. And I'm like, dang, girls,
Montana girls.
Yeah. And I'm like, go put some more clothes. Well, I'm not cold right now. I said, but you're going to be.
Yeah. You're going to be cold standing out here.
Layer up, and if you get too hot, you can always take something off.
Right.
But you get out there going, and you don't have it, So.
Yeah, there was a couple days here over the weekend. We were hitting negative temperatures, and I just threw, I think, every layer on that I could possibly think of, and I wasn't cold at all. By the time I got back up here from feeding down in the riparian, I was sweating.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'm ready to go inside and take everything off.
Yeah.
And my family is still living in California, and my mom in Texas. They're all like, aren't you cold? Make sure you dress warm enough. Make sure you wear enough layers. And I'm like, usually I'm sweating by 9 a.m.
Sure. So did your mom get hit with the big ice storm down there?
She lives in Houston, so they didn't get it quite as bad as everywhere else. But, yeah, she got like an inch of snow out there.
Wow.
And she didn't lose power or anything.
Well, that's good.
I think her apartment complex had like backup generators and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, they got hit pretty hard. But she was like, I'm just going to keep the couch warm for a couple days.
But that kind of cold, like down there where it's humid, they say is way worse than like our cold.
Oh, yeah. Everything just turns to straight ice.
Yeah.
That's why their roads were so icy, because there's so much humidity and moisture in the air. It all just settles down there.
Sure.
It just turns the freeways into an ice rink.
Like a wet cold is way, like Minnesota, they say that cold up there is just way worse, or like Illinois.
Yeah. And that's what I keep telling my family, like when they ask me how cold it is, I'm like, it's a dry cold, just like you guys say it's a dry heat.
Yeah, it's not as bad.
No.
It's not, a dry heat's not as bad as a wet heat either. Yeah, I know.
The wet humidity in the south.
So when I was in high school, I made it to Nationals High School Rodeo Finals, and it was held in Springfield, Illinois, in late July. I had hardly ever been out of Montana before, and I got down there, and it was so hot. I mean, it was like 90 degrees, but that humidity was awful. And so then they said, well, it's going to rain tonight, and I thought, well, being from Montana, that'll cool her off. It did not. It made it way worse. It was so humid. I was like, I don't know how people live here. But I guess you just get used to it. I don't know.
Yeah, in my last last year of college, I went to Pensacola, Florida for a football tournament.
Yeah.
And that first night we were there, and it's January, so it's like, I don't know, 60 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And that felt pretty cool. It was pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then it started raining, and it got warmer and more humid. And then all the mosquitoes came out, and all of us, like, California girls were just like, well, what do we do?
Well, it's weird, isn't it?
All of us were just covered in mosquito bites from just being out there that night because we had a game. So there was nowhere we could go to get out away from it.
Yeah. My wife grew up in Florida until she was like in 8th grade. And so I've been down there a few times in the swamp where she was raised. But it's not my kind of country. No.
I'm good. I'm going to shut this so they don't wander in here.
Yeah, we were down there in January and we went fishing and there was some no-see-ums, they call them, some bug that kept biting me.
Ooh.
And I'm like, it's January, we're getting eaten by bugs? What happened to your, what, did you build an ice sculpture or something?
Yeah. It's freeze and thaw. So it kind of changes shape every day.
Yeah? Well, how'd that happen?
So there's actually a bunch of just stuff underneath it, like tables and wood and furniture and whatever.
Yeah?
And then there's a hose that comes straight up and sticks out of the top of it. So when it's really cold, turn the hose on and it sprinkles and then it all freezes.
Oh, so they did that on purpose?
Yeah.
Cool. That's neat.
Come on. We could probably just let them go to roam around if you're cool with it.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
They don't really need to
They're
go
not
back in
going to
there.
hurt anybody.
Not already left us present. Okay, thanks. Take that. Thank you.
Yep. What you doing? Where you going, you donkey? Well, we can bring both of them over there, I suppose.
Okay.
Huh?
Hang out next to each other.
Yeah.
Pony, pony. Hello, cutie. Hello, cutie.
So you live in Missoula?
Oh, well, I live here on the ranch.
Oh, do you?
Right now, yeah. I used to live in Missoula, kind of by the university.
Okay.
But yeah, with the summer coming up, we're going to have to move out. So Brian, the other girl that works here, and I are looking for a place in Missoula together because I'm going to keep working here over the summer.
Uh-huh.
But they're doing Airbnb with our apartments. So we
I
can't
see.
leave it.
So you got to find something, huh?
Yeah. She's got a dog. I've got a cat. It's going to be interesting. Starting to shed already? Let's see what we can get off of you. Nothing yet. You are one fat pony. So do horses' feet tend to deteriorate with age, or if you keep up on it, like they'll stay good?
Not really. They'll slow down a little bit with age. They might not grow as fast. But as far as the basic shape and the integrity of them, it usually doesn't change if there's no problems, you know.
Okay. As long as they're eating right and getting all their nutrients and everything.
Yeah, their joints are going to go first.
Yeah.
Before their feet, usually. Or their teeth or something, you know.
Because these guys are getting up there. I think they're like 18. Maybe they'll be 19 this year.
The ponies tend to live a little longer.
Yeah.
So, but I trimmed a horse. Well, I guess that they lost her the other day. But she was like 37 years old.
Wow.
That's maybe one of the oldest horses I've ever seen.
That's what I've heard of.
Yeah, she was older than me. I was like, holy cow. But she was just starting to get, you know, she didn't have a lot of teeth left, and
yeah,
they couldn't keep weight on her.
Yeah, the quality of life just starts to go down.
Yeah, and it just got to, you know, where she's getting weaker, and I think they just had to call the vet and let her go, you know.
Yep.
And there's a point. I think personally, the worst thing you can do to an animal is hold on too long.
Yeah, that's what is tough about dogs, because, you know, you want to keep them around, but...
And I have a tendency to hold on to my dogs too long. Harley, my white dog, she got pretty bad shape, and I finally had to make the call, but it was pretty tough. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I had a yellow lab growing up, and he was like 12 years old, and his arthritis just got so bad he couldn't get up to go to the bathroom anymore. Was slipping in the house, and we're just like, okay, I guess it's time.
You know, and they don't. Poor dogs, you know, they don't want to. If they can't get up to go to the bathroom, I mean, that's tough on them too.
Their one sense of dignity.
And that's kind of how Harley was getting in. She was going blind and couldn't hear, and she was running into walls, and she was having accidents, and she started just pacing in circles and panting, and I think she was in pain. She was 13. And she had Cushing's disease, actually. Oh, wow. Which I didn't know dogs got until then. I mean, you see it a lot in horses, but...
Is that that's like an overactive thyroid?
Yeah, it's a benign tumor on their, I think it's it's one of their glands, adrenal gland, maybe?
Okay.
And horses get it.
Yeah, I think one of ours has it. Not sure.
And they diagnosed her with it, and she lived 3 more years than they thought she would.
Wow.
So, I mean, we had medication and all that. It was not cheap. But
now, I had another dog that had hypothyroidism, an overactive thyroid.
Oh, so it couldn't keep weight on him?
Or
is it the other? What's the hyper is? Oh, hyper is.
It wasn't working enough, so she was
so that
a little
would be
chunky.
hypo.
She was a little fat.
Yeah.
And because I got her from my uncle, and she was like a little lab. She wasn't that big, but she was like 90 pounds. And just couldn't see her hips. You know, she had just fat around her neck and everything.
Yeah.
And I got her, and within a year, I think I'd gotten her down to like 60 pounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had my other dog, and they would run around and play in the backyard all day.
So mostly the exercise
and not letting her free feed throughout the day, because he would just put a big, serving of food in the bowl and let her eat all day.
And those labs, they'll eat until they pop.
Until they explode, yeah. But yeah, so I controlled her food, and then they played all day long outside, which kept my other lab feeling young because she was like 5 years younger than he was.
Yeah.
But she ended up getting a bladder infection after all of that, and then we lost her.
Oh, really? Through a bladder infection, really?
Yeah. I don't know if it had ruptured or something, but it was something with her abdomen.
Oh.
It was just kind of like, we got to do this today, unfortunately.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
It's just tough losing your buddy like that.
Oh, yeah. Especially so all of a sudden. Because it's like with my older dog, it was expected. It's coming. It's going to be hard, but...
Sure.
With something so sudden like that.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough. And then I lost my other dog 3 years ago, Rowdy. She was I got her right when I got out of college. She was my buddy. She went everywhere with me.
Aww.
And she was a really good cow dog. But we were roping one night, and she was sitting there across the fence just watching, and this steer, who was a jerk, he saw that she wasn't looking, and he snuck up behind her and horned her and messed up her back really bad. So I even made her a wheelchair and everything, but it got to where she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Poor dog. I said after that, I said, you know what, I think I'm just done. I don't want dogs anymore. I can't do it every 10, 15 years, you know? But that's how I got Gus. You'll meet Gus tomorrow.
Your little corgi?
No, he's a Australian Shepherd.
Oh, I think I've seen him a couple times.
Yeah, the red one?
Yeah.
So I was at a bull sale, and they had these little puppies in a box.
Oh. Yeah, my dad just had Great Pyrenees puppies.
Oh, yeah?
On New Year's Eve. They had rescued a female one, and then they wanted a second dog for her because she's nervous all the time. So they found another Great Pyr at a shelter, but they didn't neuter him.
Yeah.
And so she wasn't spayed, he wasn't neutered. You put the math together. They ended up with puppies.
Oh, I bet they're cute.
Oh, they are so adorable, little potatoes.
Yeah.
But they ended up with 2 black ones and 2 white ones.
Really?
And I didn't realize that they could have a black
I didn't know that they came in black.
So they're both definitely purebred Pyrenees.
Is it kind of rare to get black ones?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to be like horses where they're born black, but they lighten up over time.
Yeah.
But I know that they can have like white coats but brown face markings.
Uh-huh.
And that's what the other 2 ended up with.
Huh.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens to the black ones.
Those pups are worth a lot, aren't they?
I think so.
Yeah, I think those Great Pyrenees are...
They tried to pawn one off on me, and I was like, nope, not until I get a house.
It's a big dog.
It's a big dog. Yes, they would like the snow, but not living in my apartment.
A gal I shoe for, she rescued one. Bella is her name.
Oh.
And she says, this is going to be my guard dog. I just, I needed something to kind of scare the bad guys away or whatever. That didn't work out. That dog will lick you to death.
Oh my goodness.
She's just a big old fuzzy, cuddly dog. It's kind of funny. She's like, yeah, so much for my guard dog.
Yeah, they love their people, but if they get strangers around, they're not too sure about it.
This one is. She loves everybody. Yeah. I pull up there, and boy, she meets me at the gate. Can't wait.
Yeah, they'll bark at a leaf that's blowing in the wind.
Right.
You ready to go join your buddies? the last little bit. And you just want to keep eating? All right.
There you are, bud. Here, now don't do that. Where do you think you're going, buddy? Oh. Up here.
I've noticed a couple times on their feet that some of their hooves on the top will bow out instead of kind of dip in.
You mean up here towards the hairline, or?
Yeah, like when you set the
like right here,
the rasp on it, kind of goes out.
So that's well, they call that kind of a bull nose. So that means just, I mean, you don't want a big bow in it, right? I'd rather have that though than the dip.
Curve.
That means their toes are getting short, you know.
Okay.
They're staying pretty nice and short. A long toe is just bad news all around.
Yeah.
And it's just hard sometimes for to go that far, as far as you need to. You know, you think you're going to hurt them when actually it just needs to be done. Especially on a foundered horse. I mean, you can see them. If they're really bad and haven't been done, they'll look like skis. I mean, they'll.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just kind of splay out.
Yeah, and it's just bad news. And then, so you got to get really aggressive with it. I mean, you hit like little pockets of old blood and stuff. It can be kind of scary. So you said you got your degree in ag business?
Yeah.
Is that right?
So ag business and food industry management.
Okay, so what are you is there a field that you kind of want to go into in the ag world, or?
I'm considering going back to school to be a vet tech. That's like right at the top of my list.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the couple times the vet has come out here and I'm just like standing there watching and I'm like, that's what I want to do.
They do some fun things.
That was my original trajectory, but I got to that organic chemistry class and I just wasn't going to get past it.
Yeah.
So I just decided to change my major at that time, but it's a big regret of mine that I didn't go through with it. So I think in the next couple years here, I'm going to go back to school and do that. But I was looking at wages for them in Montana, and they don't make great money. So I don't think they do. No, I don't want to live in another place and do that.
The rest of the country is different, or I'm not sure. Do they make better money other places?
It's supposed to be like a nursing degree, so you would imagine
that would
they would make some good money.
Sure.
Unless I just need to work in like a smaller animal clinic, but
yeah.
You know. Yeah, that was the biggest thing when I moved here. I was just like, there's not really a whole lot of like ag jobs necessarily because there's not a lot of like corporations here.
Yeah.
So having a business degree gets you like kind of more corporate style jobs, not just like being a rancher or a farmer or you know, food distribution and stuff like that. So I worked in a lot. I worked at the good food store in Missoula. Worked at a couple restaurants around town because I do like to cook. But I know that's just not going to be the long-term trajectory. I would love to own my own like business, maybe like a brewery or a distillery or something, and make some.
Well, I'd love to own a brewery
food.
or distillery. I think that'd be fun to make different recipes and stuff.
Yeah. But right now I'm just kind of enjoying being here.
One thing about breweries...
something I've always wanted to do too.
Sure. One thing about breweries is, though, I can't think of one that's ever gone out of business. So
right?
They must make money.
You always got a customer base.
Yeah, right?
Especially if you've got food too.
Yeah.
Don't tell any of the other horses, but this guy's my favorite.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
He's your little buddy, huh?
My little buddy. He's so sweet. He always greets me at the gate. He's a little spicy. He's kicked me a couple times.
Yeah. Well, which one is this, Lewis or Clark?
This is Lewis.
This is Lewis, okay.
Yeah. He's a little spunky. We had a problem with him over the summer with sand colic.
Oh, did you?
And yeah, because he eats the little pieces of hay off the ground and gets all the gravel.
Sure.
So now having them on the snow in the pasture has really been helping. But I just know as soon as we have to come back to feeding them in here, we're going to get it again. So
you got him on some sand clear?
We've tried that before. It's just like he's the most sensitive to it. So it seems like no matter what amount of rocks are in there, it just kind of seems to upset him.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
With it being cleared out now, we're going to try and like stay on top of it and be preventative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a horse, I'm going to say 4 years ago. Sand colicked on me. And he was insured, so they did surgery. And they took out 95 pounds of sand.
Oh, jeez.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? I mean, the horse didn't look fat or anything. But, yeah. He came from Big Sandy, so I'm thinking I bought him from my father-in-law, who bought him from a guy in Big Sandy.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking he had a bunch of sand before, because we don't live in a sandy spot, you know?
No, and I mean, most of Montana really isn't.
Right. But he must have had it before he came over here.
Yeah. If it was just dirt over here, I don't think it would be such an issue, but because we have the little rocks.
Sure.
Just kind of settle at the bottom there.
Oh, relax, buddy.
We're almost done.
I know.
But yeah, I've noticed since then, since his tummy is feeling better, he's a lot more spunky.
A little more spunky, huh? Come on, bud. Help me out a little bit. There you go. Up, bud.
Naughty. It's almost time for your nap. It's almost time for your nap. Oh, you're so warm. So warm. It's time to get some of this winter weight off of ya. Yeah. Yeah.
Okie doke. All right, that's it for this crew.
For the homers. All right.
Yep. Do we want to, is this thing still on?
Yeah, you can mute it or take it off.
Yeah, I guess if we're going across the road, we don't need it, right?
Yeah, it's not going to work over there. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. We're going to go over to the winter field in a few minutes so you guys can move the camera over there.